That sentence, I don't think he knows what he said either.
It was the first time the two candidates have come face to face in 4 years.
He's, without question, the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country.
You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the El Mac Show. I'm your host, El Mac. Today's topic, that presidential debate. Wow, was that a hot mess? So, without further ado, let's get into this because you guys got to see this. Peace.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous.
Trump pushed several false claims, from insisting there was no terror during his administration to claiming that every legal scholar in the world supported overturning Roe versus Wade.
Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
At one point, the two oldest candidates in history bickering over their golf game.
I told you before, I'm happy to play golf with you if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie, that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Yeah,
Let's not act like Joe.
There was a slow start, but it was a strong finish.
I think I witnessed the unofficial end of the Biden campaign.
What we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people.
He looked weak and confused. I like him. No way you could believe this man could be commander-in-chief for more years.
This president has family members who don't love him, because any loving family member would not put a man like this through the hell that they're actually putting him through.
What voters are concerned about when it comes to the tapes and this old, unfit individual who's president of the United States, we saw that on the debate stage today. The worst debate performance in modern history from Joe Biden versus the strength of President Trump.
There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Yeah. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance.
It's the lowest crime rate in 30 years because they're taking their gang members and they're dropping them into Virginia, but you have a governor that's not letting them stay very long. Right? But Joe Biden and the Democrats know this, but they're unwilling to do, for whatever reason. I don't understand, for whatever. You know, you always like to understand the other side or your opponent's
reasoning.
Person
stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
When he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon.
That clearly didn't sit well with Biden, delivering his most direct attack yet on some of the allegations surrounding Trump.
The crimes you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about?
President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earned far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
you have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
The elected officials saying we have a problem.
And just to co-sign what John is saying, I mean, the panic that I am hearing from Democrats is not like anything that I have heard so far. And a lot of it has to do with, first of all, there was a deep frustration about Trump's lies. I mean, he lied a lot tonight. But the problem for Biden was that Trump was able to take sometimes incredible falsehoods and turn them into some kind of argument, whereas Biden's answers were, in a lot of cases, not coherent, deeply problematic, that he was not able to take pretty straightforward answers and answer them to the American public, and then also at some points bringing things up that teed up Trump attacks. So there's a real concern here tonight that there's been some real damage done that cannot be undone.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain.
The idea that I have to apologize to you for anything eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Then, when he wanted to make his point about abortion, he just repeated the word period 3 times.
But we are not for late-term abortion, period. American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people.
You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live.
We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position.
Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever.
That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
All these other guys that come out here and talk to you about the issues, we know the issues. The wide open border, crime on the street, fentanyl killing our children, pornography in our schools. We know about the issues, the failing economy, the precarious place the United States finds itself in on the world stage with its enemies. The horrible, absolutely dreadful administration that is currently leading our nation right now. It is mind-numbing to think that the most energetic, the greatest nation on earth, people seek to come to for that vaunted thing that we have, the freedom and energy and intelligence that we have in this country. And all 350 million people are being led by somebody who just barely knows that they're here on earth.
It's been pretty scary. So Joe is looking sleepy, and Trump is looking like he normally do.
Trump's looking pretty sharp right now.
Yes, he is. That's what I'm talking about.
What do you think about the line when Donald Trump said, "I didn't think Joe know what he just said"?
I think he's correcting what he said, unfortunately.
Who do you think won the debate, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Who looked better?
Trump definitely looked better. Definitely won the debate. I was surprised this debate would even happen. I've never heard Joe Biden complete a sentence, but he actually did better than I expected.
Joe Biden took a week off of presidential duties to prepare for the debate. Could you see that in this debate?
No, Joe just kept lying. Trump said something, and I was like, okay, this is going to be really interesting to come back at. And he just literally either didn't answer it or just lied. It didn't feel like a debate.
Mm-hmm. So what percentage of truth do you think came out of Joe Biden's mouth tonight?
There was some truth, just easy questions, but the actual questions I wanted answered. For example, Trump kept talking about the border crisis. I'm like, that's a really good, objective thing to have a response to. It's horrible. I was pretty frustrated at the end.
Does Joe Biden really have any way to defend himself with the border crisis?
No.
Mr. President, you are the oldest president ever.
Pretty good shape, huh?
Which leads to my next question. Some people ask whether you are fit for the job. And when you hear that, I wonder what you think.
Watch me. Conduct of the response in the Gaza Strip has been over the top. I think that as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong, and that
on
cannot
substance
be
and
debated.
Policy and performance tonight. I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back.
I don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Your presidential debate live on the El Mac Show. Now, give me your comments on this, because I think Biden is going a little bit too far. I don't think he is prepared for this. I'm sorry, man. I feel for you, but I don't think you should do this. You don't seem healthy enough to do it. But what's funny to me is, why is it only Biden and Trump? What happened to everybody else? Nobody wants the job? I guess that's what it is. Anyway, there's always a lot of promises in this debate situation, so don't get your hopes up high, people, because half of that stuff ain't gonna even happen, not even half. Okay, so thank you guys for coming in, showing up, liking, subscribing to the channel. El Mac is in the house. I see you on the next show. Peace out.